Hi, I'm Jeanne.dexter, founder, co-creator, and CEO of the Talking Jar series, otherwise known as Conversation Starters by the Talking Jars. I started writing Conversation Starters in a time when my family was falling apart. My kids and I were going through the trauma of my being separated and eventually divorced from their father. A very typical scenario for most families today, and conversation had completely come to a stop. To me, this was as much of a painful thing as actually going through the crisis itself. My kids and I had always shared and always been close and talked about pretty much anything. I could ask them questions and they would answer. Now I was asking questions and everybody was shut down. There was no sharing. There was so much pain and so much anger in our lives, and I needed to find a way to get through that. I thought about how often we ask our kids questions and we get one-word answers. And then I noticed that when other people were asking them questions, whether it was an aunt or a grandmother or even a neighbor, that they would answer pretty much freely. Just everything just came out. There wasn't the hesitation or the feeling locked up inside that they had inside the house. So I came up with an idea that a third-party question just might open up conversation, and I began to write. I began to write questions about all different types of things, just talking in general, hopes, dreams, questions about anger, what makes you angry, but all of them were written in a format that was open-ended so that it would allow them to freely answer, not as if I was asking it directly myself, but as if it was just a game, a question in a jar that was more like a game. You drew one question out, and everybody, including myself, had to answer the same question. So by doing that, we found common ground together, because it was kind of like being on a treasure hunt. You pulled out a question and read the question, and then with everybody responding, you had no idea what was coming. So I found it really extremely exciting and valuable, because you think you know what your kids are going to answer. You think you always know. Same with your spouse. You feel like you know what your spouse is, at least I think I do, what your spouse is thinking all the time. And sometimes those answers come out and they are completely different than anything you would have ever expected. That can be good. That can be challenging, because it's a learning experience. We don't always know what other people are thinking. So I found this format to be something that really worked for my family. It began to bring us back together, closer together. It began to allow us to share things we would have never shared before, things that would have never even come up before. I tried to write questions that you wouldn't normally think of in an everyday conversation. So it began to work, and it was hugely powerful. And it connected us. It brought us closer together. I found that to be something that I couldn't stop doing. I started writing and I couldn't stop. The topics were endless. We all go through grief. We all go through all different sorts of scenarios. There's anger all over the world today. And that was my light bulb moment. When I saw how it worked for my own family and thought about all the topics and all the challenges that every family goes through, whether it be grief, anger, bullying, marriage. How often do we not connect anymore with a spouse that we still love, but just, everything becomes kind of routine. And these questions opened up and reminded you of why you married that person, what you loved about them the most, things you'd like to change, but in sort of a calming way. You could talk about things you might want to improve on or things you might want to change in the relationship. And the key again was that everybody answers the same question. So that allows the freedom of having a voice, having an opinion, and it's not about judging each other. It's just about having much needed conversation that connects you together. After 15 years of writing questions and being a part of the Talking Jar series, I realized a few things from my past that might have had a lot to do with this that I didn't know for years. And one was that I had a couple mentors that probably had much to do with this being in my consciousness. And that was my mother, number one. She was a great communicator. We were always allowed to talk. One of her famous phrases to us was always when there was a challenge going on or we were sad or, angry. And, kids are angry a lot. Teens are angry a lot. She would say to us, the door's always open. I'm always here to listen if you want to talk. And that stuck with me more than I realized. If you want to talk. And the truth of the matter is most people, when they have a problem, do want to talk. They just don't know how. So I use that phrase as well with my own children. Allowing the people that you love and the people around you to have a voice is huge. It's something that can change a life, can save a life, actually. So courage, people ask me, did it take courage to start this as a business? When I realized that because it worked so well for me, that it really could work for any family, any corporation where there's workplace problems, connecting people together in the workplace, allowing someone to not feel left out. Courage? No, I never saw it as courage. I never even would have thought to use that word. I think of it more as it was an absolute necessity. It was saving my family. It was something that I just had to do. But it just happened. It was easy for me to write. I wrote from the heart and I wrote from experience, and that was easy for me. And it still is. I love to write. So I don't consider it courageous. I do consider it successful. And everyone's meaning or definition of success can be different. For me, success is about connecting people together, healing the hurts, building those bridges in relationships so they don't fall apart, allowing everyone to have a voice. And the biggest success was bringing my own family back together again and connecting us in such an incredible way. And today we still play the game. We still pull out a question and we talk. And that's huge to me. That's a success. And success is bigger than just our family. The big picture is that success has been pulling other families back together, helping teachers talk to students, helping counselors even know what to say to someone that they don't know anything about. If you can connect with somebody on the ground level, you can pretty much solve any problem. Because problems, just look at the world today, the problems in the world, the problems in families, the problems in neighborhoods, problems are based on misunderstanding. And if you can unleash that power of understanding between two people or a group of people, it's very, very powerful. And it works. And that's the Talking Jar series. Simple, easy, and highly effective at connecting people together again. Thank you for listening.